And we are live. Today we talk about two things. The Acolyte, Season 1, Episode 6, and The Boys, Season 4, Episode 6. I sent the link to many others. Hopefully, others will join as we talk about these two shows. How are you, Dlord?
Good, good. Besides banging my head against the same wall in a flawed dungeon in Zinless Zone Zero, like, fine. 2 hours, by the way. Good, that's what I've been streaming, by the way. It's not a bad game. It's good. It's just, I'm exploring the end zone.
I see.
It's a good game. Even you would like it. It's casual, but, like, it has that get good moment. It's not getting much better.
I will be honest, I like retro gaming, but modern gaming sucks. I
It's not
hate
really
this
modern.
shit.
It's not
Um,
even, look, it's not even modern gaming, right? But I'll have to show you at some time.
I I hate microtransaction. I hate open world. I hate multiplayer games. It's like anything that these big company comes up with, I will hate it. I think my only option if I really want to play newer game is either Nintendo or um, playing like indie games. These are like
Uh,
the only two options.
I will say, right, a lot of MiHoYo games don't really need it versus the idea. Because a lot of their newer games, because of the microtransactions and all that, like the only thing I really consistently pay is like the $5 a month for the 90 a day free resource, which gives me like 2 summons a month, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, Basically the 210. So if I ever want something, I can get it. But like the thing is, like Zenless Zone Zero, it's every MiHoYo game's different. Like Honkai Star Rail's turn based. In reality, it isn't like. But like Zenless Zone Zero is, it's more a little tactical, but the idea it's taking a lot of what they learn from other games. So
yeah,
it's less of the microtransactions. So it's like take Honkai Impact, right? Mix it with like uh what they're learned in Genshin. So the combat's fast paced, except when you get towards certain areas. And I tried 4 different team combinations and I'm not cracking it. And I'm like, okay, shove it away. But no, overall it just came out like it depends, but it's not heavy gotcha, right? I mean, it's like if you're thinking tactical, sure. There's 4 different games. And plus two, you also gotta understand not all games will have microtransactions like coming out. So
yeah,
definitely find some for you. It's like good.
yeah. I still prefer movies and TV shows like The Acolyte. Let's start off with that one. What did you think of this week episode?
Ah, you mean the OnlyFans fan fiction.
Yeah, that's the name of it. Um,
I'm glad I did you know, uh I Miss Sparkles wanted to watch it with me and see I should watch it from episode 1. She's so I know you're very PG. The undress me eyes have
oh,
been there since the beginning,
yeah.
apparently. And fun fact, Lindsay Headland apparently uh started noticing this weird chemistry on set halfway through this season. And then they go, we need to focus and double down on this in season 2. So, and
What?
it's good news. So OSHA not only gets starts developing more than one face while acting, she has several. And if you want to count the member berries,
Will they go full on like parody we can find on websites that you probably guess are the X type?
Well, to be fair,
um,
it was written like, well, you do the psychology stuff. It's like, why does the girl fall for the bad guy? But it's even
yeah.
like Miss Sparkles, who's a normie, was like, this is bad writing. She got up to episode 3. Like, she started dying of cringe. Like, but in episode 4, we start with after the recovery from the last, May has made her way to the ship. Before we get there, I guess you see Osha, who's recovering, and walks outside to find an ocean. Now, I won't say what Despereau said, because that's kind of cruel. Is that true? It's go watch it. This episode, there's a reason on my channel I didn't want to cover the Acolyte or Doctor Who, because the only way I get through it is I have to like. It's good enough that it has good, like as I said, right? It could be a good Star Wars series. Could. If it was in the competent hands. If you wrote this and said this was fan fiction, it could be a good show.
Yeah.
Even half-ass Star Wars with fan fiction. Like, you remember, like, Star Wars Theory did, like, a Vader film loosely inspired? That was actually good. There was a show years ago made by Acolytes. So you have the OnlyFans moment. Then there's the Master Soul. If my goal was to kill Master Soul, I could have killed him 5 different times.
Why didn't you do it then?
I actually stopped counting. I'm like, why didn't you kill him?
Don't know.
Okay, see, we're on the same page, right?
Yeah.
On board the ship. So where do you want to start? The OnlyFans beach scene? Before we get to where she cosplays as Osha? And she resets the droid like you reset a phone.
Look, usually, I will be honest, usually with the Acolyte, I find enjoyment, I find stuff, I'm like, oh, that's cool, I like that, but here, that was a struggle. I was like, bro, when I compliment the visual, I'm like, cute visual in my notes, it's because, like, it's shallow, like, there's nothing to like about that goddamn episode. Like, the main villain was entertaining, I guess.
Okay, he's the only person saving this show. He's the only person. Because Osha's actor has one face through the entire show, besides episodes back. That's like she's undressing him with her eyes. Like, and then there's member berries all through it. Like, she wakes up, the weird little the crappy little claymation bird. Like, I'm like, okay, see, this looks like a decent episode. Fine. Then she picks up the knife, stalks him down the beach. Right? Fine. That scene, right? He's like, well, but I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go, this is going to be a trap. Okay. I'm like, and then before you get to the whole writing, right? She could have easily, like, May could have easily killed Soul. How many times? Oh, you hug him like a struggle session. You could have stabbed him. For God's sakes, you killed a Jedi with a butter knife. And you called... Oh, God. I had to relive. You know what? I had to relive Master Torben drinking the poison. So in 10 years, he went from a young man to his hairline receding and looking like he aged 50 years. He looks like an Amish guy. There's reasons I kind of blocked this show out. So, like, you have the part where the only thing spoiling her plan is the droid that shoots her in the face. By the way, the innuendo is all through this episode. Because apparently the little bloodhound seems to remember that's May. And now, do you want to talk about the little furry animal struggles
Oh
and finds
man.
a droid because it puts it on charge? Look,
This show is like full of shame. And it's hilarious because I will go on a very tiny small tangent, but today I went to see Inside Out 2. That's a kid movie for kids.
yes.
And it was better than this, and it has more substance and more entertainment value than
And costs
this
less.
shit.
And it costs less to make.
And on top of that, it debunks like some of the weird people telling, oh, it's Star Wars, it's Wizard in Space, it's for kids, like don't think about it. But like I've just seen a kids movie, Inside Out 2, today, and it was better than this shit.
Well,
It's like, how can you mess up so hard?
how can you mess up basic Star Wars? Like, and then, there is good parts to this episode, micro parts, right? It's like, oh, his former master was Lindsay Headland's wife.
Oh, that's why she's in it. Oh, okay. Now I get bad acting then. Okay.
Well, okay, the green one, that's Lindsay Headland's wife.
Wow! Hell yeah.
So,
Go, girl.
so basically, there's actually a line in here someone picked up in the audio. She was too lazy to record it. As she walked out of the room, you could tell it was voiced in and added into the thing because it was recorded in a different studio.
Wow. I didn't
That is
notice that.
how it's in one scene. And I'm like, oh. Because you got to understand, he turned the hot Sith guy. See, I'm very tempted to make the joke where you don't need cookies to bring them to the dark side. Okay, have you never seen Family Guy special?
I've seen a few Family Guy episodes, but
They ask Brian if he wants to come to the dark side. Come to the dark side, we have cookies. Okay, so Blue Harvest. Never see it. Oh, but it's like he's like, but you see the struggle Osha's having. She wanted to kill her sister, but she couldn't kill her sister. Like she's been struggling. Like she's on the whole beach, and then there's so much weird stuff that goes on when you see his back. Who has a lightsaber whip? The Green Jedi. I got thrown away. So how do you screw up a basic Star Wars tale? Like
I don't know, man.
Look, you agree with me. How do you screw this up?
I did defend this show, bro, so it hurts me that this week I can no longer do such tasks. It's like this show is not as bad as what they say. It's not as bad as what they say. And like this week they literally broke me like on so many levels.
It
Like,
only took 6 episodes to break you?
dude, I wanted to defend this thing. Like I genuinely liked the second episode, and I thought the first one was average. But then
Third?
comes the third episode. I
The
didn't
fourth?
like it. And then came episode 4, another episode I didn't like. And then 5 is
Okay.
like, oh, maybe it could be better if it was with 4, but no, it's
No,
not.
okay. Do you know the kicker in the series where you get to like episode like 3 or 4? You remember that scene when Yoda's explaining how the Force works to the younglings?
Yeah.
They go, let's recreate the scene how we think Star Wars works. Okay. But except the Force is a living entity. That's why I did a whole thing when I had to do something on my channel. I actually had to talk about there was a pull on a lot of the Darth Plagueis novels on Amazon. That is actually selling a lot. Thank you, Disney. You're making people rediscover the extended universe that you threw in the garbage.
Now
Because
it's funny because I just thought again about some of the complaints I've heard online. And apparently people are complaining about the trees, the rubbery trees.
Well, no. The idea is the trees, right? No, if you go back, right, in like the episode, the twins are supposed to be a Force dyad.
Yeah.
Remember, the concept of the Force dyad worked so well the first time in The Force Awakens, right? Yeah, let's recreate it. Let's see the like the whole thing, right, is you want I'm not saying the show's awful. Like him explaining about the ways of the Sith and the stuff like that in the cave. Like, and I don't even want to bring up the whole fact if you were gonna kill me, kill me. And he like steps up right to the lightsaber.
In my mind, it was like, open that saber and the show now.
Yes.
Uh, um,
But it's like the whole thing. Like, I think what they're building up towards is he's like, he wants an acolyte. He doesn't want a thing. So that means maybe his teacher is still there. But they're not going to land that. I know they're not. The idea, like, maybe they'll do the. But the whole thing, right? You know the other favorite tagline that comes back and haunts people? I'm
What?
not as easily corruptible as my sister. What?
My brain hurts.
What?
No.
Did that not? No? I'm not as easily corruptible as my sister.
Sure.
Proceeds to seduce and put on the Darth Vader helmet with the Darth Vader helmet coming down, style breathing. Right as eventually, right? It takes how long for Master Soul to realize that that's not May, that's not Osha.
That
For God's sakes, she has a little glowing spot on her forehead.
And I will admit something. I will tell you this because right now I go through my notes because I really wonder what went wrong.
What went wrong where?
Yeah, and I just realized I cared about this show in the first 2 episodes, and then I just started watching along, and as the show went on, I had less and less to mark down and to say about the show. And and
I'm not
This
trying to
week
be
is
mean.
just worst.
I mean,
It's
it's okay. I get the whole thing. Like, oh, Quamir, right? He's basically he got himself down, and then he got his saber out, and then he went and fought the Wookiee and killed the Wookiee.
and
And you know what the cool part in the show would have been? You actually have outside of Legends a Wookiee Jedi Knight. This is how you treat them.
yeah.
People have been wanting to see a Wookiee Jedi Knight for years. They've been in Legends. So now you're
So
gonna. But that's what I say. The episode's so bad. Like I'm gonna say this: May could have killed Soul how many times? You
I don't
had
know. I lost count.
you lost count, and it literally is like OnlyFans. The episode, the beach scene. She's looking behind the rock. Like what? It's like Fabio. If you know the reference, the
I
guy.
don't.
Okay, it's like, and then even Miss Sparkles understood. She goes, "Yeah, all the writers are women. No wonder it's bad." It's like, right?
Now it's hilarious because again I go back to my notes and I'm really wondering. So like now I got like 8 things to say in total,
You're good. I'll let you.
and like I watched back to the first episode and I had so much to say. I had like probably 3 or 4 times more stuff to say about the first episode than this one. And it's not because the runtime is that different. Like maybe there's a 10-minute difference, maybe a bit less than that. But even there, the show pacing is just so bad that it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. So that goes into my first issue with this week. Pacing was bad. The first 5 minutes could have been trimmed down to 2 or 3 minutes. It's mainly shots of people walking around, but it drags on for too long. And I'm sure if I rewatch this thing, I will be able to repeat again the same issue more than once. And I look at the episodes, the length. I feel like they could smash some episodes together. Like 4 and 5 could have been one episode of like 40 to 50 minutes with the credits. While right now it's like an hour, a bit more than this. It's just it's stretched on to pretend it has something going on, and I feel like this 6th episode is just half an episode. It's not my full thing. So why 8th episode if you suck that much? I have PTSD now. I feel like I'm watching The Walking Dead in space. The pacing is bad, and it broke me. I want to love this show. I want to defend it. Okay, I don't like to hate watch, but usually when I start something, I like to finish it. So I will power through and suffer through the next 2 episodes. But you're no longer like I'm no longer on your side, show. Um, Next issue would be telling instead of showing the villain being a Jedi in the past. I feel like they are so lazy. It's like look at all of the cool backstory, but we don't have the money to build sets and to give different costumes. So let's just tell that happened.
No, can I say something? The good parts about this episode is, like, when Master Soul's radioing in, his entire squad was killed. Apparently, the green Jedi Master, knows something's amiss. Like, even through the breaking up, knows it's like the thing. Like the Jedi investigation into why they got killed because she can sense the Force. Like,
Yeah.
that's actually good Star Wars stuff. Like, when she goes, what do you see with the bodies? Oh, and the other guy, the little stupid Jedi guy, is like, I just see bodies. They were killed by his sabers. These mods could have done it. No. Right? It's not like that, huh? Then it's like, she actually goes, well, shit. We need to get back to the ship. You forget the whole point, right? Kayane and Mandui is like, we haven't seen a Sith for a millennia. No, we haven't seen a Sith for 93 years. You know, it's like, but there is bright spots. Like, maybe Soul was playing stupid. He knew that was May, and it's like, oh, she strapped it.
I'm sorry, but no. It's giving too much credit to the writers and characters.
What do you mean? He eventually...
I cannot stand by it.
What do you mean?
He figured it out by the end of this episode, but...
halfway through?
Yeah, and not only that, it's just that, they realized they made him look stupid, so now they kind of need to fix it.
Well, halfway through the episode, because apparently she goes, you've always had that droid with you. Like, he's quizzing her. Oh, by the way, I went back, going back and rewatching that with Miss Sparkles, because she wanted to watch it. I looked back through episode 3 and going into episode 4. He could actually sense the dark side of the Force. Did you catch that when he was going through the forest right before the Sith guy comes down? He's like, I'm feeling something. No, here we go.
I will be honest, I've seen the episode yesterday and it's a blur what you're talking about right now. But I agree, welcome. I'm surprised you were able to make it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm able to make it, and I actually listened for the last 10 minutes while I was walking my dogs, and I disagree with everything you guys have to say, but it's a pleasure to be here. How's it going?
Why? Oh no, Gray,
you're wrong.
What, Gray? We're wrong?
Very much so.
Hell yeah, I like it. We do not sound like an echo chamber anymore. But before we keep going, I will just get along with the last 2 issues I have, so then I can let our new
but I got issues with your issues, man, like the telling not showing when he's saying I used to be a Jedi. Like, you want him to actually show everything where he kind of has this mystery, and it's literally supposed to be a mystery. Okay, he said master. Is he talking about Sith master? Is he talking about Jedi master? There is some mystery that they're trying to do. If you literally show a flashback to that, there is no mystery. So I understand what you want. That's not what this show is. So I don't think you can knock it for not being what you want, as opposed to calling it on what it is. I don't think it's a fair criticism to say it's telling, not showing for a thing that's literally supposed to be a mystery.
Actually, you made a very valid point.
That's the point I would make. I'm fine with it.
I like it. See, I will actually not call that point then.
See,
you made a valid point there.
See, that's okay. See, I didn't hear what you said, but I agree with the fact that they're not telling. They're going to leave it to a mystery on how he fell to the dark side. Maybe he was discarded and got found by a master. Because the theory that's only saving this show is there is potentially a master. And you could easily pull Darth, God, what is his name? Tenebrous.
Oh, no. Yeah, Plagueis and Tenebrous have both been kind of put forward as possible, but we'll see.
No, Tenebrous makes more sense, by the way.
We could go through this later. We interrupted Multi's awesome criticism of this. What are your issues with it, sir? You said you got 2 left?
Number 1, not funny scene with the Darth. They did try hard to be funny, in the ship. And I feel like that Darth is with Maya before she got spilled on her face.
Basil is no dwarf. He's a giant for his people.
Dwarf? No, he's not a dwarf. He's like a little bloodhound chipmunk. Come on.
That
He's
thing,
half otter,
whatever
half
that
weasel.
thing is, I also feel
Basil.
like he is product placement, but I won't hold it against the show.
Okay.
But that's all I feel like he is. Like
Okay.
he is the baby Grogu of that TV show. Like, oh, we
No.
need a new
Basil?
toy. Let's make that dwarf.
So you're talking about the sniffer, not the
Yeah.
droid, right? So the
Yeah,
droid is new for this. The sniffer actually comes from, like, I think it's a 78 novel called Han Solo's Revenge. This is the first time that they brought it into live action, but it is a pre-existing creature, which is kind of interesting.
No, I would have. I was waiting for Multi to say the merch was the ugly-looking clay pigeon on the island.
I'm not that nitpicky. Like usually,
I don't know, man. Proto-porgs, they're kind of cute. They're kind of like little baby sirens, you know? Maybe one day you'll be able to milk them.
No, the whole thing actually. I'm like, I had to look. I'm like, what is that? Oh, that's the bird, the baby bird that ran across. And I look at the bird. I'm like, you couldn't even bring in Jim Henson Productions to make bird animals for you?
It was cute. It had a little trunk. Sorry, Multi, you were saying these are all for merch?
Well, actually, my issue was more like that scene tried really hard to be funny. I didn't think it was funny. With the bumbly and weird music to tell you need to laugh here because it should be funny. That entire scene where she get like whatever she got in her eyes. Yeah.
It was eye-level oil. Come on, every spaceship has an oil depository thing, eye level. You know, it just makes sense. And all you have to do is plug a droid into the power supply near it, and it controls it. So that makes perfect sense.
But my issue is really the humor there. I didn't think it landed. So yeah.
Yeah, the tone seemed very off. That whole scene and that whole segment, and then like Basil stomping her boot and stuff, and kind of like trying to push her. It felt very Spaceballs, not Star Wars, which is interesting. I agree with you. The tone seemed very off with that.
And the rest of the episode is serious, so why would they do this? It's like, what am I watching now? Yeah, what am I watching? It's like Leia running in the woods away from these bad people in Obi-Wan. The next issue and the last one, that's something I agree with Dlord, and I found weird as well. Plot armor on Soul, like my goal wasn't to delete like the Jedis and to prove herself to the bad guy, and she had so many opportunity, but she didn't do anything. Like she could have just ended the show there. Let's delete Soul right now. Why didn't she do it? Don't know. Any explanation on that?
Well, that's not really what the whole show is about. I don't know. That would be like saying the whole show is about May and Soul, and it's not, in a weird way. Like Soul's a huge part of it. He's the father figure to Osha, but I don't know. I think there's a lot more going on there. But you're right. If she really wanted to kill him, she definitely had a chance to. He was not suspecting it. She already killed an arguably higher master with what is it, Master Indara or whatever, with the same knives. So yeah, she definitely could have. I don't understand her motivation. So 2 episodes ago, she was going to turn herself in, and then all of a sudden, in the last episode, in the middle of a fight after she finds a dead Wookiee, now she doesn't want to turn herself in anymore.
She had a. If you go back, you must see this is the character development. Do you remember the scene when she sees her sister is alive? Her sister's alive. Like
yes.
she has that whole part where her sister's dead. Oh, she has that sudden like facial expression, like, oh, my sister's alive. I need to question everything I've ever known. And then she takes that long walk through the forest, and then she has a realization that she needs to redeem herself.
Yep, turn herself into the Jedi and seek some sort of resolution from them. Yeah, and
But then she
magically
flips back.
she finds a dead Jedi, and none of that
No,
matters
and then
anymore.
she flips back because bear in mind, if she wanted to turn herself into the Jedi, I'm going to surrender myself to the Jedi. She could have surrendered herself to Jecki. No, she
Yep.
She
chooses
fought
to fight.
Jackie.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to surrender yourself when somebody double heel kicks you right in the face. That was a pretty good wrestling move that she used on her there. It might have stunned her. Who knows?
But yeah, plot armor on Soul. And I feel like
So how so? Just that he doesn't get killed? Like, I don't think that's plot armor on Soul. I just think that's bad writing for May's motivations. Like, all of a sudden, like, we keep flip-flopping between, like, the last three. Like, does she actually want to? Because I think it's supposed to represent hesitation on her part. That, like, yeah, I could do this, but, okay, no, I'll pretend to be Osha for right now. I don't think it's necessarily that, like, he's unkillable.
yeah,
Am I interpreting that different than you? I think it goes back to May's motivation, where I don't think it's clear.
I did thought about it as I was watching, but I kind of stopped caring about the character, I will be honest, because like we said it, she flip-flops, and I was like, man, what do they even know what they want to do with this character?
Well, it's easy, right? Because let's say hypothetically go on a limb and say that Lindsay Headland wants to adapt the concept of the Jedi twins, but they are a dyad. They're trying to establish earlier on, they don't even stick with the shit that they're a dyad.
Well, you don't know necessarily that that's what it is. And they're being ambiguous with it because they also are talking about, like, the power of one, the power of two. But then Chimere says something, or the stranger says something about the power of two. Is he referring back to the witch thing? Is he referring to the Sith thing? Are they referring to a dyad? They're trying to play it super ambiguous and play up the mystery of it. And I don't know. It comes off as very
do you
wishy-washy.
remember when she could sense her sisters alive across the galaxy?
Then she sees her and she's like, oh, everything I thought was like that wasn't. She shouldn't be surprised that she's alive if she can really sense her like that, the way you said it.
Inconsistency amongst the writers?
I think it's... Yes, but I think it's intentional to play up the mystery. But you're right. Like, it is inconsistent. Same thing with May's motivation. I don't know what's causing this. Now, there is a way that they could actually explain this through the flashback and through the next episode, but I don't have confidence that they're going to. It's kind of hard to say because, we're like, 3/4 of the way through this. So I don't know. Next time we get the flashback, it's the same writer-director from episode 3 who did the other Brandok episode. So we're going back in time. And hey, we get to see a Wookiee swing a lightsaber in the next one. So
cool.
That's something I've wanted since I was a kid.
Me too.
No, that's what I was saying earlier, because here's my issue with like this. Like, actually, I had to catch up. Like, I rewatched this again because, as I said, Miss Sparkles wanted to watch this. She wants to watch this. I'm like, sure.
I can see wanting to show this to others. Yeah, for sure.
She actually
you need to know about Manny Jacinto.
Okay. The whole thing, right, Gray, about the whole on the scene on the beach. Like, apparently Osha is in the forest. Even if you remember the forest scene, she's like, I don't want to kill my sister. I don't want to redeem my sister, turn her in. I want to kill her. That's not what Jedis do. She wants to have her sister murdered. Like the whole
she's
thing.
not a Jedi. Like, and that's kind of the thing, and that's why this literal and physical seduction and rhetorical seduction by the dark side is working. So she got kicked out of the Jedi for having attachment. Like, the thing is, you're supposed to have no attachments. You're supposed to bring nothing in. Even Soul seems to have attachments, but I don't know that that's necessarily inconsistent. She wasn't a Jedi and she isn't a Jedi. She failed out because of her attachment. And this whole romance thing that, the stranger, Manny Jacinto, is kind of bringing up is trying to play on that attachment. Like, that you don't have to give it up, that it is easy.
No, you're going to get to the better part. I forgot about that. There's 2 parts what make this a very interesting OnlyFans fan fiction episode. The other one is it's interesting you bring up Master Soul first. Oh, I'm like, God sakes. And if you go back actually, like, through the prior episodes, Gray, as I said to Multi before, and if you think back, she's been giving me the undress me eyes to Kwon for a while. Like, this is like, I guess if you call this character development.
Quaimer? You think OSHA's, or sorry, May was into Quaimer? Because you're saying she, but
It's
like
the same
OSHA didn't know
actress.
him
It's
until.
literally
I got you,
the
but they're two
same
different characters.
actress.
So which one are you talking about? Because when you
The
said she's
actress
doing it the
is-
whole time.
The
Okay,
actress
they're
is
two
the-
parts. Which part are you talking about? I understand it's the same actress.
Mayo or Osha?
So May was the one that was with Queemer before, and now OSHA is the one who just met him after that
I'm
battle
saying
on the
by
planet.
the character chemistry, even though she still only has one face. But luckily,
Okay.
but let's be clear.
I've dated sisters before. Does that mean that, could it be that there is a type that perhaps people are looking for? I don't know, man.
I'm just
that
saying.
doesn't seem like bad writing to me. It's like, okay, there is this hot guy who apparently, people are interested in. That doesn't seem like a big stretch to me.
Okay, so how do you describe...
I'm with you, Gray.
How, by the way, how do you explain the OnlyFans beach scene with him being naked as she stares behind the rock? Like,
woman writer wanting to reverse what we did to women for years.
I was asking Gray. And the scene is the same. I'm thinking out of one of the older, like, classic films, like Boy and Girl is trapped on an island.
Okay, and are all of those OnlyFans ones because the dude is topless, or what makes this OnlyFans in your book? I guess I don't understand.
She's like literally stalking him because she thinks he's attractive.
I think you spent too much time watching this Peru and the others from that corner of the internet.
I didn't do that.
There.
I don't get what makes this OnlyFans at all. Like, okay, there is implied nudity that you see this dude's back, his naked back. I don't know, man. I'm also watching House of the Dragon right now. They're literally showing so you get full hang in the front from one of the main stars, but you also get like side characters like actually being filleted on film and stuff. I don't know, man. That seems way more OnlyFans than, okay, this hot buff, cut dude is topless. Like, I don't know.
Is Game of Thrones OnlyFans? Is Game of Thrones?
I think it would be more, but no, I think it's just the way that we now ingest media. Right now it's okay to objectify men, which if you look back at the 80s, we were doing that nonstop to women. I think a little bit of turnabout's fair play. I think it's perfectly fine. Give me more topless Manny Pasito. I'm totally down.
So
I like your take, Gray.
You know what? Here's my exact thing. People are calling it the only. I just call it was written like a romance novel.
Yeah,
like it was just like. But there's eventually the part where he gets out of the water.
Do you think the lines between like Leia and Han were not written like a romance novel as well? Like, I love you. I know.
There's a difference between. There's like a difference between when you go and look at the. What is it like? When you go and see the scene where he's entirely naked. Can I go put my clothes on? And she's like staring. She's not staring at his body.
It's a way to be metaphorically and physically naked in front of somebody who could take you out. They literally are doing two different things with that scene. So they make OSHA dress in May's clothing because that's the only thing that's available there. And it's black clothing, which is symbolic. Now she is the dark one. And not only is he completely naked, but then once he does ask for his clothes and he gets them back, they are the lightest clothes that you've ever seen this guy in, which is symbolic as well. They've done that. If you look at just Luke's progression through the first trilogy, his whole progression is shown in his clothing choice. Goes from white to gray to black. And then you see him again in the end not wearing black. I don't know, man. I think you're reading a lot into this as opposed to just it's a way to symbolically and physically make yourself vulnerable in front of somebody else so that you give them the upper hand. Like he left that saber there on purpose. He knew that she was following him.
I got that part. I knew that was a trap. But there's also the whole point, if you really want to get into the issues I have the writing, is, okay, May, take this. May could have killed Master Soul on the ship. Technically, she's veiled. If she killed him with a dagger, right, she would have failed again. But that's besides the point.
Maybe. It really kind of depends. So do you know where that thing, well, I guess we don't know everything because, there hasn't been like the whole interview afterwards and get it broken down. But have you seen the idea of somebody being tasked to kill a Jedi without a weapon?
It's been rumored in canon before. Because,
So it's kind of the latest run of the Vader comics. His final test before he became a Sith was to actually kill a Jedi without a weapon, and then he had to use their saber, like bleed the crystal to then make it the red saber. It's kind of a way that they're bringing that whole lore from the comics into the actual canon of Disney. I don't know if they're doing it effectively. They didn't explain it. I don't know if they're going to, but I believe it's a reference to that, where it was like Vader's last task.
Well, and it's not like it's kind of an old tradition too, because if you are trying to, and this is where the show is going to have issues, and I'll be very curious if they renew it for a second season, because the moment
I have no clue how it's going, man. Like I see half the internet saying it's going to be canceled. Season 2 is already canceled. Kathleen Kennedy is being fired, and I see the other half of the internet who's all linking to the exact same article. But there's like 4 different companies that all link the exact same article that's saying, okay, this is the second highest rated. It's just under Obi-Wan as Disney Star Wars's top streaming show. I don't know, man. I honestly have no clue.
It won't be canceled. I don't think so.
And no, I have a feeling they'll give it a second season myself, because we know Doctor Who is a prime example, has done disastrously for Disney, but it's greenlit and paid for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Because it's not like when Velma was done and everyone knew it was bad. It was guaranteed 20 episodes.
Not everyone. Velma is based.
But take like Doctor Who, right? Doctor Who, Disney still paid for upfront 16 episodes of Doctor Who. So the thing with Acolyte, right, is they have said there is a season 2, because I guess they gave it like a 16 to 18 episode runtime, which is
I'm not so sure about that. I've been pouring through Leslie Headland interviews from before it was released, from all the way back to when it was announced like 2 years ago. She keeps saying, I hope we get a second season. I've never seen her confirm anywhere that we've gotten a second season.
Well,
so I don't know. I'm just not sure where those reports that it's canceled already are coming from, because I've never seen a report that it was ever greenlit. But if they're right, if that one article is right, and I think it goes back to Screen Rant, I want to say, but it's saying that it's their second highest viewed show in Disney Star Wars, just under Obi-Wan. If that's the case, I can't see how it wouldn't get a second season, but I don't know. They're doing, so it's beating Ahsoka according to these numbers, and Ahsoka is guaranteed a second. So I don't know.
The issue they're going to have, right, is someone actually joked that Osha was going to be the one to drift to the dark side. Which,
it's been telegraphed since the beginning.
So, like, I think because there is runtime, there's at least 16 episodes. I really do. Because
so she says that she has the first 2 seasons mapped out, but there aren't actually scripts ready. At least the latest interview I saw with her said that there aren't scripts ready for season 2 yet.
So supposedly, right, as I'm telling you.
Even if there's the second season, sometimes it takes at least a year of production. It's rare, like, except if you really got greenlit the moment you started a season, it's rare you will make like 2 seasons back to back like that. Usually there's always like some time to give a breather to let people see if there's money there to do and if it's worth making a second season.
And she's alluded to there needs to be like a mystery worth going into the second season. So there's definitely going to be a lot of answers that are left open, which sucks. I don't think we're going to get anything on Chimer's background at all. Like, just the stranger is just the stranger. If I were to guess, we're going to find out just about Soul, Osha, and May, and that's basically it. There's probably going to be, now I can't remember her name, the green lady with the whip saber. I believe she is also involved in that, but
Marcella,
I can't.
Or whatever her name is.
Yeah, whatever her name is.
Well,
the actress happens to be Leslie Headland's wife.
There's actually the theory. There's actually a theory, right? That I would say, because the idea that they're going to possibly tie in Darth Tenebris, because you could easily bring in Darth Tenebris without. It wouldn't be like bringing in Plagueis, because Plagueis was different. Tenebris was just the Force, this dark side of the Force could be used.
We already have in canon that Plagueis is Palpatine's master. So then,
Tenebris,
we're 100 years from there, though. It's Plagueis' master.
So Tenebris should be around and active during this time.
Maybe. So there's a whole lot of theories that like they're changing the race, and instead of a Mun or whatever, it's going to be the stranger is essentially that. No, not Tenebris. What's his name now? I'm blank out. Plagueis is supposedly a Mun or whatever. So I don't think they're going to change the race or anything like that. I don't think we've seen the master.
They wouldn't change it because the guy who was Tenebris is different. Like, you could easily do it and say that there is one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still like the theory that if they just kept it to a Sith lore, like May was only good because she's a constant failure, because an acolyte, the idea of an acolyte, you have to compare them to like a temple guard. Does that make sense for the Jedi?
In a way, I'll let you keep going, but that does remind me of another thing that I had a contention with you about. But
because so there's different levels of like how both the Jedi and the Sith work, because there's like the actual head temple guards. You have like acolytes, even during the Imperial era. This wasn't the Inquisitors. Palpatine had, this is if you want to dig, and you know the lore, he had Mara Jade as backup because he knew Vader was going to fail. He had a couple of others lined up, as well as acolytes, dark side users he could use as assassins. And that is the idea of what an acolyte is, more or less, in a lore. Because it's not like if he was looking for a rule of 2, you would be going, he's looking for an apprentice. A good apprentice that could succeed. And I don't think May was that. He was using May as an assassin, which would have put her in a caste of the Sith in the modern era. You're only as good. It's kind of like think of it as a lowly Jedi guard at a temple. Not the one that became the head Inquisitor. Usually the ones with the yellow sabers. Those are guardians.
You're going with this, but you're bringing too much into this. They haven't said that he's 100% a Sith. We don't know exactly what his rule is. He said that his master threw him away. I can't remember exactly his wording, but does that master mean Jedi master? Does that mean Sith master? it's a little up in the air. We don't know that he is a Sith apprentice. It sounds like he might be going his own way. There's a whole nother like theory online that instead he's going to be the first Knight of Ren, which I don't know. Disney really dropped the ball on that whole Knights of Ren thing. Like, it could have been cool, but I don't know. I don't think their execution of that was anything special. In fact, I don't care about the Knights of Ren now, but I don't know. There's a big theory that he's doing something other than the Sith, and then that would also lead to Kai-Adi-Mundi's thing of we haven't seen a Sith in a millennia. I don't know. I like the way that they're really like going out of their way to make everything so that it can't be reported back to the Jedi Council, so that nobody knows the reports of it. But I don't know, man. With the Kai-Adi-Mundi, like everything that he reported, either in the Clone Wars or in any of the prequels, like he's wrong about everything, man. Like he's the perfect character to again be in this.
Did you actually get the idea of that they also said at the beginning of the episode when she's like, well, there's an up and coming senator who wants to test the rule of the Jedi, and so the Jedi have been lying to them for years. Like, it would be like, did you catch
they just wanted an investigation into the Jedi, which fair enough. Venestra is then saying like, of course we always have transparency, but that's right after she's already said like, we need to cover this up, which makes sense. In the Clone Wars, Yoda was covering shit up. Yoda gives that look famously to Mace Windu, right as Kai-Adi-Mundi is like, there haven't been Sith in a millennia. It seems to be a very telling look. And then they covered up where the clones came from, who sponsored it. Like, there's a ton of cover up that the Jedi have done. This is the end of an era of a theocracy, and it's a bunch of people who haven't been taking this seriously.
I think they're trying
in their last grasp at power, essentially. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's not how I would have tackled this.
So the idea,
I hope she does it right.
No, so now before you get into the whole idea, and that's when you get into the idea of the Clone Wars and how the clones came around. The clones were commissioned by a vision of a Jedi. But Sidious found out about the clones and then subverted it.
And then Yoda covered that up. They could have reported it long ago.
Because the idea is why the idea, as I said last week, was this is meant to be the High Republic. The Sith Grand Plan was
the end of the High Republic. So it's like the end of a theocracy in a weird way. So
because actually
part and gets us to just the police on top of the Senate. Because in 100 years, it has to go from them ruling everything to them just being like police, essentially, these weird religious police.
You don't remember either. The thing is, too, like the establishment of Grey Jedi comes from a fallout in the Order 20 years before a Phantom Menace, where they were the sole military force used to attack this mercenary people. That was actually them. It was like only 20 years prior. But it's like the idea. And by the way, you forget in one of the episodes, they actually showed one of the banking clans. The trade ships. That's like one of the people. And it's like, oh, that's where Osha was hiding it. So it's like, well, we have member berries, but like, this is what they could do with the show. Can they land a decent story? Because it's very different than like something.
I hope so.
House of the Dragon, right? Like House of the Dragon's entirely different. The problem with Acolyte is 5 should have been the beginning episode. Establish the mystery.
There's a way you could do that. I think television is the wrong medium for this thing. Like if you're going to do it's essentially one of those unreliable narrator things, and we're going to have to go back to the same event a couple different times to get the full context of it. I don't know if that's going to work in a 30-minute episodic television series. Like, anyone that I've seen kind of do that, like Lost, which isn't exactly Rashomon, but anything that I've seen do that ends up being frustrating, and you lose the audience because you're going for the mystery rather than storytelling.
Lost, part of the problem was they started taking the fan theories, like from the Reddit and the other shit, and incorporating it into the show. But so the Vision the island could have been an ancient Atlantis. The writer Abrams was like, hey, I'm going to put that ancient little wheel device that could move the island.
Yeah, which this is different, thankfully, that, she's not having a chance to adjust everything. Everything is already done. But I don't know. I just can't think of another successful one where you can have storytelling like this. It doesn't feel like this ends in individual episodes.
How do you explain away the campfire in space?
Okay, stop.
The same way that you explain away like space horses and the noises and space explosions. Like, it's a long time ago, man. Physics work differently.
Dlord, it's sci-fi, and stop watching Disparu. Anyway,
he's got a point, and the same thing with like the doors, like the metal doors, and then the rocks just burning down in the witch's coven. Like, there better be an explanation for it. I'm holding out that there will actually be an explanation for this. I'm going to let the space fire go. It feels like it's the same as space explosions. It wouldn't actually look like that. You wouldn't hear the noise.
Okay.
But you know what? It looks cool, and the sound design in Star Wars is always amazing.
Okay. Here's how I would have explained the witches catching fire. She wanted to destroy her order, so she caught the temple on fire. And she turned the sisters against the Jedi. I kind of hope that's the case. But rock doesn't burn.
Well, not from a notebook, but we don't know what happened, man. We know a reactor melted down at some point, but yeah, I don't know. I'm really hoping they explain it well, because it's hard to justify it, but if you're getting only part of the picture from a child who didn't quite know the whole story, I don't know. Maybe you could somehow justify it. This is what she saw. She saw rock burning for some reason.
Let me throw her a bone, okay? Maybe she's a rare force user that can manipulate fire. That is actually in the lore itself. It's a very rare ability. Cool. It's in the Legends canon, but it's a very rare ability.
For sure. But it shows a lot of this other stuff, apparently mind reading and stuff, which is now canon.
So here's where before we move on to the boys, let me say this. Here's how I would have handled the sisterhood.
Well, Dlord, sorry to disrupt you, but Gray barely spoke about his take, and I wasn't really done with it, but keep going.
No.
I'll say this before. Here's how I would explain the sisterhood. If you weren't going to use the Dathomei sisterhood, right, that used force alchemy, say that they are attuned to the dark side of the force. Let's say they are force users, but they're more sensitive to the dark side. That would have made sense. What if they were a dark side cult? That is why the Jedi were trying to kill them.
It seems like they might be. That seems to be what I'm getting hints of, but again, we're only getting hints of it, so I don't know. It very well may be really stupid writing, and if they don't justify it in the other flashback and in the final one, yeah, I'm not going to defend it. The only defense that I have of it right now is we didn't get the full story yet, and a lot of people are making assumptions where they're literally pointing out this is an unreliable narrator. They don't know the whole story. And now, even the little bit that they showed us, the interaction between the two girls, both of them think the other one is the evil one. Like, I have to think there's more going on than what we just saw.
Okay, then there's the other thing, too. They've been alluding, even in this episode, when she finally gets to the planet and sees the bodies, she can see they were killed by a Sith, but she doesn't name it's a Sith or a dark side saber. She knows there's another force. Do you remember her questioning by the little Jedi underling guy? Why would a person, Master Soul, turn on him? No. It's like she knows more. Venestra knows something. Like, she's known not just about May, it's about... Sorry, there's other things.
For sure. And the way that she played her, I guess he's a Padawan. I don't know. He's got the rat tail, so I assume that means that he's a Padawan. But yeah, the one that they're calling, what is it, Soilo or something like that. Yeah, fair enough. That guy, he does have an interesting way of speaking, but there's actually a bunch of theories about that dude too. So we know from like the High Republic novels that there is like Sith infiltration into the actual Jedi Order. I don't know. That guy was really quick to just kind of put everything together and say, this was the work of one saber. Do you think Soul turned? That seems awfully quick to just throw out that accusation. I don't know that that guy's as innocent as they're making it. What if he is just an unassuming guy, but you know, he's doing some deeds.
She knows. She goes, well, how do you know he didn't turn? Because I'm the one who sent him to this planet.
For sure. And again, she's keeping things from other Jedi. She is willing to kind of cover up some stuff. But it sounds like she was letting him kind of go with that. Maybe Soul did this. As in, that could be a possible way that we get a resolution to this, that Soul just kind of turned bad for a minute. Not fully to the dark side, so there's no Sith, but he did all this. I'm interested to hear how they're going to try and wrap up this mystery and make it so that nobody knows about the Sith in the end. But I don't know. There's other theories that, you know, the markings on the stranger's back look awfully like a whip. Who do we know that has some sort of lightsaber whip? You know, perhaps she was his apprentice. The other thing is, when he's walking with May on the beach, he says that he used to be a Jedi, and she's like, I don't remember you there. And he's like, it was a long time ago. We don't know how old this dude is. There's a bunch of theories that like the lake that he was bathing in is also like some sort of natural bacta bath or something that. And this dude is like hundreds of years. Maybe. I think Venestra is like 150 or something at this time. She's over 100 years old, the one with the whip.
If they do, I hate to say it, if they try to do the twist that this guy is Darth Revan,
I don't think they're going Revan. The thing that the internet seems to put together, it sounds awfully like Plagueis. So the planet that he's on, it looks an awful lot like Octo, but they made a point to not make it Octo. You happen to see in his lair, there are deposits of cortosis, like veins of it in the wall. There's like 3 planets that we know of that have cortosis. One of them happens to be Plagueis's planet. A lot of people think that this is all pointing to Plagueis. So if they're doing that, cool. He's finally canon, but I don't know. Other than just what Palpatine said in the first one.
He was canon, and he wasn't only killed. See, that's why I said a lot of the stuff is how
we haven't seen him on screen, I should say then.
He was in
he has his own books and stuff. Yeah, but that's
not dead.
Legends.
He was not dead in the book. Like in the book that goes to the movie, he was killed in the dinner scene at the which would have been the beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm. But again, those novelizations, it's not necessarily canon. Disney made it all sorts of different, but this would be the first time that they're bringing Plagueis into 100% canon and the top tier of canon. So I don't know. It could be cool. I have a feeling they could really screw it up.
And
I'm not super familiar with the Venestra character, but from what I see, this doesn't look like the other character that we've seen before.
Okay, let's say hypothetically, and I'm going to give them a carrot.
Last tangent, Dlord. I'm sorry, but like we went on like 20 tangent. I like it, but like
it's right. I know. I just want to say
many.
this. They need to find a way to tie it up. Maybe she hid the fact that she just like. If you remember in Phantom Menace, they just lost Darth Maul. What if she just lost his apprentice and said he was dead?
Yeah. That seems to be kind of what he's hinting at. He's very vague, but kind of... It seems like he's choosing his words very wisely in a very vague way, so that you could take it as, my master, does that mean Sith? Does that mean Jedi? I don't know.
Because they've said that she or Soul is a secret dark master. What would be funny?
Yeah, it's a theory that's out there. The other thing is, it might be somebody that we don't know. There's a really famous actor who's he hasn't been shown yet, so he might show up in the next episode or he might show up in the finale. But he's got an amazing voice, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to use him for the Sith Master. So I don't know that it is Finestra or even this. I can't remember the character's name, but her Padawan, who is really quick to blame Soul. And I don't know that it's going to be Soul. I don't think he would be able to two-time everybody and have an apprentice and have these fights. I don't know. I just can't see it being Soul. I can see everything being blamed on him, but we'll see. I really hope they stick the landing on this, because this isn't my least favorite Disney Star Wars show. It's definitely under Andor. Andor's my favorite, but it's above Ahsoka and it's above Obi-Wan for me currently. They could really screw this up with the next 2 episodes and make the whole mystery for nothing. And if so, I think that would drop it below Obi-Wan for me. But it's not the worst thing that they've produced. I don't hate it as much as everybody else does. And I think a lot of the critique is not necessarily in the best faith. That being said, I don't necessarily love this. There are some really cool things that are going on in this. You know, like she said, it would essentially, Leslie Headland said she wants it essentially to be the marriage of 2 things. She wants it to be Kill Bill and Frozen. I'm getting both of those vibes from this. The last episode, episode 5, that was totally like one of the best samurai fights I've seen. That's very Kill Bill. The fact that they're willing to dispatch kind of main characters, that's very Kill Bill. The whole thing with the sisters, and then also the, not having family, craving attachment. I'm getting very Frozen vibes from that. And then the addition of Soul being kind of the father figure to Osha, his being torn up. I don't know. This whole episode, man, Soul's, now I'm blanking on his name, Lee Jung-jae. That dude, the emotions that he is able to actually put out, the fact that you can see how torn up this guy is, the fact that he learned English for this role. I've got a lot of respect for the actors in this actual thing. I'm really hoping they pull it off. If they can stick this landing and make this mystery not suck, I'm gonna like this way more. I don't think it'll beat out Andor for me, but I think this would be the second in the Disney shows for me. And again, it's a subjective thing. I understand a lot of people wrote this off. It's the gayest Star Wars. Yeah, it totally is. But you know what? I don't have a problem with that.
And that's good. And you also have to stick the landing, because the idea of, oh, do you remember when Vader, she puts on the helmet and she breathes like Vader? I'm just like, okay, this is a cool concept. She's seduced by the dark side, but you only got 2 episodes left. Just saying. Yeah. You got to wrap this up if you're going to have other episodes, you literally, there's a point, like you could look over it later, but it's like plot convenience that I find. No one turns around this quick. But
yeah, this I agree. Anyway, thank you for sharing a lot, Gray. Do you want to add something before I finish off on my part, Gray?
Yeah, we are all so much better for knowing what Manny Jacinto's physique looks like, and man, this dude. I gotta be honest, he could be one of my favorite, antagonists in all of Star Wars currently. I just love the way that he was doing the mind games with Soul and Jecki in the middle of those fights, the way that he's able to just kind of get out of there. He's not actually looking to kill them. He's looking to toy with them. And then when you find out that he was doing all of that by just using the Force, like he was going in blind, literally. I don't know, man. I'm kind of digging it. I think the whole headbutting lightsaber thing is pretty stupid, and it's rather risky. But when you put that like in tandem with him possibly having some sort of mind control, Yord saying like he's in my mind, he fights like something I've never. It seems like he might have that same kind of control that the witches had, where now I can't remember his name, but the one dude's eyes turned black and he seemed to be under her power. From the trailer that we saw, it looks like that might actually happen to the Wookiee in the next episode, but that could be fun. But if the dark side has this power, that would explain why the Jedi really failed in a lot of these fights, on top of being lazy in like the dying days of this theocracy that everybody has just taken everything for granted and they're not really working at it. It's an interesting world to be in. And I think there's some really interesting characters that were brought into this world. I really hope the mystery works out and is not stupid. I don't have faith in this. I have some hope for it.
I feel you, man. I feel you. So, Dlord, before you go to another tangent, I'm sorry to disrupt you already, but
I was just going to say Cortosis was established already in lore, but what its actual functionality, what it can do, it's very brittle, but it can defuse lightsabers. It was already known about.
That's cool. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Anyway, now, just before I finish off, I've been thinking about it for like half an hour, but I didn't want to interrupt you back and forth because that was a very interesting one. But earlier we mentioned, shirtless guy. And this is funny because in my mind, since we mentioned that, I'm like, this show knows its audience. Like, they want a more female-driven audience. So, of course, there will be eye candy for the woman, the straight ones. And the more the diverse, or the straight ones, I should say. Anyway, eye candy, that's what I wanted to say for half an hour. Anyway, now I was done with my issues, but I will kind of recap. Issue number 1, pacing, I didn't like it. Number 2, humor was bad. Well, the tone was kind of bad. Number 3, plot armor, but again, maybe they will rectify it in future episode. But as of right now, it doesn't add up for me. Outside of that, I have 4 likes. So I guess I have more likes than dislikes. A cute visual. Main villain was entertaining. Investigation aspect was enjoyable and soul realizing. He's got Mai was great, and him searching for Osha was entertaining. So I think that was probably my least favorite episode this season. And
really, least favorite?
Yeah.
Wow. What's your second least favorite? Like, you liked the flashback one?
How it goes right now, I have my notes right now. I'll just go back. So this episode right now is a 5 out of 10. Episode 6. Episode 5 was a 5.5. I had a lot more issues with that one. Even if that was one of the most liked one, I enjoyed the action, but there were a lot of issues. And the flashback one, that was the third one, I believe. I also gave a 5.5. So
okay, at least it's not that much better than this. Man, the acting from those kids was just, it's young Leia type acting from Obi-Wan. Just wow, the child actors in Disney are not doing great right now.
No, and the idea, right? I'll say this: the idea of how they're trying to play to what they want in the audience. It's kind of like, why would Zeus strip Chris Hemsworth character in like Thor?
Again, because he's hot, and yeah, it looks awesome. I think seeing more of Manny Jacinto is awesome. I'm all down for this. He doesn't need his armor next time. Just give him the gauntlet and the helmet, and we're good.
And outside of that, like, so far, I'm really 50-50 with this show because we got 6 episodes. I thought the first one was a bit above average. The second one was my favorite. I also thought it was a great episode. Probably the only one I would really rewatch so far. And we also had episode 4 that was a bit above average. So yeah, this episode, man, I almost tapped out. I was like, yeah, I started, I will finish it, but if I look at my notes, it has gotten a lot smaller on what I really note, because I don't have the same kind of interest I had in the first 2 or 3 weeks. Anyway, what would be your grade out of 10, Dlord?
I put like 3, but I will say this though: if they don't pay off, like, why did the Wookiee, like? There's a lot of mysteries. Like, why did the Wookiee have the witches symbols on the wall? That's why I say, like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to figure that out next time, and I'm assuming it has something to do with the mind control thing. But we'll know next week, episode 7, the other Brandok flashback episode.
And what about you, Dre? What would be your grade out of 10?
You know, I think I'd give this one like a 6. There's some really cool stuff going on. Not only do we see Manny Jacinto and all of his scars, but, you know, there's some really interesting revelations that come up through the dialogue. That being said, there's some really bad cutting. Like, I don't know why we're spending like 2 minutes here, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes here. Like, we're switching between Osha and May way too soon. Like, let some of these scenes play out. I think the humor of the droid attacking her with oil would have worked out so much better for May trying to pretend to be Osha if we hadn't just like gotten some actual drama and some weird mystery of her sister being seduced by the dark side, and then now we're going to this wacky part where this droid is actually attacking her via the ship's lube control. You know, it's weird. I'm not going to defend everything in it, but there were some really interesting details, especially through the dialogue. Like, I had no clue that he was using that helmet as a sensory deprivation thing. Like, I understood it was cortosis, I understood it was shorting out lightsabers, but there's like a slit in the center of it. I thought you could see through that. You know, it's obviously doing something to the breathing and to the voice. Apparently, no, it's just a helmet. So I don't understand what the breathing is about. There's not like a weird voice changer or anything in this helmet. From what it looked like, it was just straight up metal with these teeth added to it. So that's a little inconsistent to me. But yeah, overall, I think I'd go with like a 6. The intrigue in what they're doing with the dialogue and actually seeing somebody physically and mentally seduced by the dark side. I never thought of it in a romantic way. I just think it's kind of amazing. And then the way that they're able to get this stranger to just psychologically kind of walk her down this path that, like, you know, it is so much easier not to give up your attachments. That's one way of doing the Force. And then just so many allusions to, like, even Yoda. And then on top of that, just the overall scenery that this is all set on. This island that they're filming on is just gorgeous. You can tell this isn't one of their sound stages. These outsides are actually in this amazing landscape. You know, it seems like that would make the internet happy, since the complaints of the last episode where the forest looks like a soundstage and the plants are all rubbery and everything like that. Like, I don't know. To me, this is an above average episode. The last 3 really kind of hooked me. When 4 ended, it's like, okay, I want to see the fight in 5. Like, now there's actually something I want to see. And when 5 ended, it's like, okay, I want to know where they're going from here. I thought 6 did it really well. I couldn't see how they weren't going to do a flashback, but this kind of makes sense to me. And then the fact that Sol would, you know, dip out. So granted, yes, it does seem awfully convenient that his communicator is not working or whatever, that it just happens to be out. They're just able to get the distress signal, and then he's able to get a message just before they show up, and he's able to just get out of there. But that's more of the mystery. I want to know why he's running away, as opposed to saying, hey, I've actually caught May. Let's go down to this planet. I'll show you what happened. Here's the bodies of everyone. There's also some ADR where just kind of randomly as they're walking away, they're like, send a party back for the bodies. I don't think they actually like shot that. I think that was an afterthought that's like, you know, we just left like 8 Jedis laying in their own blood, if you will. So I don't know. There's ups and downs to this. It's definitely not perfect, but these last 2 really have hooked me. So yeah, I think I'd go 6. It's slightly above average for me.
I'm surprised they're still dead, the one that died. And for me, it's a 5.
With the Force, they don't have to stay dead. You know, we might see them again.
So...
I'm sorry if they actually... Do you know the backlash would have been if Jackie somehow getting stabbed 3 times? It's just a flesh wound.
Hell yeah, that's how we do it here. She's from an alien race that can survive lightsaber shots. Anyway, for me, 5, Dlord 3, and a great 6. Thank you for sharing, and I think it's the perfect moment to start off the boys discussion. And because it's the first time guys will talk about it, I will let Dlord start off with the boys so far up to this point before going into episode 6. What are your thoughts with the first 5 episodes or so?
I think they're trying to. I think they know that the show's on a lifespan. They have, like, I think they're going to try to wrap it up here in a season or two. This is just my thoughts on there.
They've announced, I think, since the start of season 3 that it's going to be 5 seasons total. So there's one more after this.
So
but it has been announced that
they're going to have to figure out. They're going to have to figure out how they're going to get Homelander to snap. And they're trying to build towards it. They're using, like, episode this week used a little bit of the comic, but a little bit different. Like, I'm not going to say it, because the guy it's based upon is supposed to be the Batman of the universe who was going insane because of a tumor in his head, and he thought he saved the universe, the Earth, from a meteor, but in fact, he just died, tumped over in a wheelbarrow.
I didn't get that far in the comics, so it's not Tech Knight in there? Because they've been setting
that
up
is Tech Knight.
Like,
no, that is Tech. No, that's like Tech
okay.
Knight. So Tech Knight was starting to go insane and have weird perversions, right?
Which they set up in Gen V, which is kind of fun that's kind of one of the overlapping characters.
Yeah, but the concept is he's been in the universe. It's not like Sister Sage's character is rather weird what they're going to do with her. Like, in going in a different
I have some ideas, but I'll stop interrupting you, but you're right. She's an interesting character.
I'm going to say with, like, the boys are going to have to figure out, because they are deviating, they need to figure out how they can get Homelander to snap to become evil. They are also toying around with the plan Billy the Butcher comes up with in the comic to kill all the Supes. That was established in Gen V, by the way. But that is a virus, and they're working towards that. But they're also expanding on the comic, because the comic is sometimes thought of as not as good. There's a lot of different teams, but they don't use it for the show. So, like, I will say for this episode, it's not as bad, but it is. They kind of fluctuate the episodes between making fun of conservatives. Like, they don't want to make fun of liberals, but the comic should take shots at everybody, because they go.
I don't know, man. I don't see them like putting up liberals as like the correct people. Like, Starlighters aren't just like amazing in this.
Aren't Starlighters supposed to be like, her whole team was like, her original horror story is she comes from like a Christian team, but the 7 are theoretically the most powerful superheroes of the time. That's their whole purpose. They're not just weak like they're the Deep and other people. But they're meant to be entirely destructive. But like this episode to me, but what they do to Tech Knight is they make him a total degenerate. Like, the whole thing of it, like, I get what they tried to do. Homelander's like, why would we be here at this far right-wing place? I'm like, oh, okay. So, and the whole thing with the dungeon is just overboard.
But the point was to show that Yui was willing to do anything to reach his goal.
Yeah, I
wasn't a fan, but
the boys would be the liberal side in this, right? Like, I'm not seeing them painted in the best light. I mean,
no,
like,
the boys were
rooting
whole,
for them.
So here's the whole thing.
Half of them are in the Starlighters, so I don't know, man. I'd have to think that it's saying that side, and you're seeing these horrible decisions that like Butcher is making that I don't know, Huey is making, that Huey's parents are making. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't see any side painted as like the good guys, and these sides are the bad guys.
You misunderstand. You misunderstand. What they were talking about is they're kind of trying to adapt the comic Dirty Money. Dirty Money was where a lot of the Tech Knight stuff comes from, and where they try to get in. And like the whole thing, right, is he's still trying to put together the power structure when he seizes the government. But they're not really saying, they're going to have to say, how does Homelander eventually take over the government? Now, I will say this, they don't have the Black Noir foil. Because in the comics, Black Noir was just a clone of Homelander. Because they know if Homelander went insane, only a Homelander could stop a Homelander.
And I just happened to see an interview with the creator of the show, and he was saying, like, yeah, cloning seems like it's a bridge too far. Like, we're the only thing slippery that we're going to put through here is superheroes. But when you get to stuff like cloning, that nobody's going to believe that. So they're trying to keep everything else grounded except for the superheroes. So we're definitely not going to get that.
So yeah, and also too, you're talking about the extreme. Like, you have like the Indian lady who's like, well, as Sister Sage explains her backstory. Like, I think she has a back plan, but also I think she also has a goal. They're going to try to spin her potentially as a foil to like maybe Homelander, or they may go the entire show and Homelander doesn't snap and try to do that. He's clearly trying to put soups together to take over the government. Now, by the way, I forgot to mention, I hate the deconstruction of Frenchie. By the way, why? I just turned myself in. Nah, that doesn't make sense. Because the boys are supposed to be like a CIA wet works team to keep the soups in check.
But it does make sense because he felt like shit after breaking up, and like he's unstable. Like Frenchie, that would be.
He just recently got clean as well. So not only is he depressed from his past actions, but also he's going through like heavy withdrawal. And I don't know, man. I think I could see somebody at their lowest saying, you know, I don't deserve to live. I don't deserve to be free. I don't know. I kind of get it, but you're right. They're deconstructing the character.
Because you got to look at it, right? Because at least most of the boys have a bad ending. Like, most of them. Like, I think almost all of them are dead, like, including the 7. Because, like, they are definitely doing something different with, like, Billy the Butcher. With, like, you see it in this episode too. He's starting to go insane talking to walls. Like, the dark tentacles, like, sliding out from underneath his skin or something. Like, oh, you just cut the legs off of the guy that... Make more stuff for me. And then the thing drops.
It was only one leg.
But oh no! By the way, you know
there's another one.
By the way, you know the actor that's playing the CIA agent, right? He was like from
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yes, very good actor, by the way. And I like because he was in Magic City, a bunch of other stuff.
The Supernatural. He's Negan. He's awesome.
Yeah, he was a dad. Yeah, Dad Winchester, as most people know him from. But it's like, but he goes, yeah, but I'm inside your head. You want to make this to kill all the soups. And the whole thing is when he says it creates this virus, that is the last part of the boys comic. Butcher goes off there, kills the boys team, a lot of members of them, including the female, as she's known.
Yeah,
Frenchie,
I mean,
and
if you
all
had a virus that kills soups, it would kill all of them. Well, I haven't read the end of the comics, so please don't try and spoil that in case they do some of that in the end, because I'm looking forward to seeing where they're going with season 5.
So the idea, right, is he's trying to create the virus that's been hinted at since Gen V.
Yeah, and it sounds like there might be a secondary version of it in play, because the way that Gen V left it, Newman has some of it, and she hasn't implemented that yet or anything. That's still kind of a Chekhov's gun that could go off at some point. I don't know, man. I'm digging it. I like how political it's gotten. Like, since the beginning, you've known that there's going to be this election coming up. Since the introduction of Newman, you know that she's basically going to be that candidate. Now we're actually getting to this election. There is one scene that they showed in the trailers that is like Homelander giving a speech. I thought it was going to be the speech to this group of people, but I don't think it was that. I remember right, he was like outside in the public, so I think somehow he's going to get switched onto the ticket. And yeah, I'd be very interested.
Now, I will say this. You want to know how unsurprising the idea of him being this Tech Knight, being this... Like, he doesn't have any powers in the comics. He's just like Batman who has advanced stuff.
Yeah, or Iron Man. Neither of them have powers, but they got money and they got gadgets.
Basically, like, the trope of a conservative being some sort of sexual degenerate is nothing new. Like, it comes from...
The brain tumor that's causing it is kind of new. The specific obsession with holes is somewhat new. I'm enjoying this depiction.
But no, there's a side to this that, like, when I had to ask him, did you like Hostel? Do you like that kind of crap? Okay, you get the vibes, but The Boys is not meant to be. It's a MA show and earns its rating, but it's also, you also notice the thing is when Billy's arguing with his good angel that is his wife.
Yeah, and I love that whole idea.
Oh,
I called that they were going to change, that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was not actually pulled out of there, that he was kind of his bad angel. But I thought for sure they were doing the exact same thing with, oh God, now I'm blanking on his name. The main guy whose girlfriend got killed in the beginning, no powers, dressed up as a spider in this one. Huey. God damn it. I could not think of Huey's name. I kept wanting to call him something else. I thought for sure his mom was also a figment of his Temp V addiction from the previous season. But yeah, I was totally wrong on that one.
No, but the concept is if he has experimental, like him becoming solely insane, like, well, but if you kill Homelander, there's just another Homelander in the making.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Having his two angels like battle it out, I thought that was really an amazing depiction. I thought the way that they did that turn where all of a sudden Jeffrey Dean Morgan just like yells at her to shut up, I thought that was an awesome turn. Even though it's what I expected, the way that they executed that was awesome. But to me, that just makes sense that, you know, like he has grown in this time since he did have his wife, since he did have the child that, you know, he was raising. He has gotten a softer side. He's not the same butcher that we met in the first season. That makes sense that she would kind of embody that.
Yeah,
that you know, she would be his better angel, if you will. But that old butcher is still there. It kind of makes sense. There is that whole want to kill every soup. I like it. I think this duality is really fun.
Now, here's something people forget, and you still see it in this episode, with, like, they do it very differently than in the comic with what Firecracker does. Like, there was another way to control Homelander. He always had a fear or loving attachment to people who was like his mother. You know that, right? So
that
the idea
from season 2, I believe.
that
For sure. But they also show that in, wasn't it episode 4? Or was it 5? But where it
4.
goes to Homelander's back one. Yeah, like it kind of shows that. Like everyone there died except for one person, the mother figure.
and then in the lab, and that's why with like Firecracker with what she does. But he goes like, I have no attraction to you. Despite lobotomizing the black chick.
Well,
to do.
he didn't, but I'm sorry, man. His face, once you're seeing like the milk drip down, I'm sorry. I think that's straight up attraction. Like he was happy in that moment.
It was back in his good days during the good part of his childhood when there was good parts. Oh, man. That was something. I will admit I didn't expect that at all. I think this show always did something right. It does shocking moments, and they do it right. Um, that's a strength of this show, I believe.
Is A Train being redeemed in your eyes? Do you see A Train's redemption arc working for you?
As of this episode, yes, I do. I was so tired of him having the same goddamn arc every season. This time around, they really push his character somewhere else, and I like it. I think now he genuinely wants to change and be better, and you always see that struggle he has where, oh, but I will get in trouble, but I will still do it because that's the right thing to do. Like, he's really becoming a hero. I think he's redeemed now. It's not too late
It
for
seemed like he really got that first taste of it with that kid who, caught eyes and a glimpse of him when he's dropping off mother's milk. But man, that just, that made me think a little differently of A Train. Maybe he can have a redemption arc. I just thought he was irredeemable in my eyes. From where this series opens and how little regard he has for human life to just that little moment where he just kind of, that means so much to him to just kind of get that approval and this kid seeing him as a hero. I don't know, man. I think maybe he could be redeemed in my eyes.
Well, yeah, I'm with you with that. And again, I will reiterate what I just said. Like, I think my biggest issue with A Train is they didn't really know what to do with him every season. So it's like, oh, I'm injured, or oh, if I keep doing superhero stuff, I might die, or I need to rebrand. I need to do something else. I'm no longer the fastest. I want to be the fastest. But now it's now, oh, I thought I was some kind of hero, but I wasn't, and now I really want to change that and to be more of an example. And you really see him trying. Like, almost every week this season, they try to give him a moment where he has the struggle. I'm with the 7, but I backstab the 7 for the right reason because I want to do something right. And it's also very interesting how he blackmails people, because I'm like, okay, that's the part where he used to be some kind of villain, but now he blackmails people for the right reason instead of like just, oh yeah, I want to control you. It's more like, I want to do something good and don't stop me from doing something good. I think A Train has changed, and it made sense with this season. And I think this season is actually my favorite character. That goes that far for me. He is my favorite character.
But you gotta understand, if you remove Queen Maeve and other people, you do need, because it's not like you have to have, the boys always have like a person talking about the 7 or giving them information. Because the comic, it was all Queen Maeve up until Homelander found out and then killed her when he turned finally. Oh, I need to accelerate my plans.
Starlight.
But like, you need that foil. A Train's been like that spy, but he's also trying to be good as well, because it's not like what the boys do. It's always subversive humor, but it is a good show for what it is, as long as they can tell the story and get it to be done right. Like, they're trying to get the point where Homelander is going to snap, because that's always the deal. It's not that everyone thinks Homelander's a good guy. Homelander is basically like a bunch of power, but he is pretty indestructible. Vought had ways to control him, but You get the idea. You have other people in the 7. Like, I'm surprised they're not running with the whole idea. The Deep is not a deep pervert, because the Deep is supposed to be a guy who screws anything.
And well, they already kind of touched upon that in the past. I feel like the Deep, he has no room to grow. I feel like his character has been the same since season 2. Season 1. They are far away in my memory, 2 and 3, but I feel like the Deep is more the comic relief character that didn't progress that much, despite having a lot of moments and episode dedicated to him. I still feel like there's something I enjoy so far with him this season. I feel like this season they actually tried to give him something to do. In realizing he doesn't really belong with humans. There are many places they can address that. I believe that was like episode 3, or I know that was early. That wasn't 4, because 4 there was a lot of Homelander and Yui stuff. So I'm pretty sure that was like episode 3 or episode 2. I will actually look into my notes because I know I have it noted somewhere. But I feel like the Deep, this is where they want to take him. They want to make him leave the 7 for the life underneath the ocean or something like that. That would be a good ending for his character by the end of the season. And this episode, it was also kind of benched. And I think that was for him to even think more about leaving the 7. Because, like, he's with Black Noir and he's like, oh, we were benched. Like, we were not invited. We are not the cool kids anymore. Like, I think that may be one of the few last drops that make him believe that, oh, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to be a 7 anymore. I hope this is where they're taking him at, because I feel like he's been probably the most wasted character in the show. Any thoughts on the Deep, Gray or Dlord?
I don't know. It's going to be how they've already deviated. I'll say this. The idea of Black Noir, it goes back to, and I know they're not going to do this, the idea of Black Noir was a clone of Homelander, because like when Homelander was going to go crazy potentially, like gets humiliated through the thing. Like there's people, like when he's talking to Black Noir too, like it's like, I'm really just a guy. I don't have anything. But the Deep also, including in this episode, he goes, well, I have more power. Yeah, I'm not as powerful as Homelander, but I can still punch and break a guy's skull that makes fun of me. I can still be a murderous person, because the 7, like with the Deep and other people there, they're not supposed to be redeemable people. It's usually a position. Like, that's why when like Starlight gets called up, she thinks it's a promotion, but she quit. The lucky ones quit. Like, these people, like the Deep's character in this episode, him and Black Noir goes, so what are you gonna do? You're sitting chilling in his chair. What do you think Homelander's gonna see when he gets back?
Yeah.
But there is something that's bothering me. I don't know if it bothers you guys. How do you like how they treat Homelander? Like, he gets confused, doesn't know what's going on. Like, in this episode, if he is trying to build a soup team to take over the government. Like, he's acting like a bumbling buffoon. Is he really the genius, or is he playing stupid, paralyzed by his own fear or something else?
I think he is a weird character. I don't think he plays bumbly idiot. I do think there are aspects where he is genuinely stupid and he doesn't understand some aspect, and that's why he needed Sage. I think he knows that most of his powers come from like what he can do. It's not necessarily like, oh, I need to use my brain. No, he never really needed to use his brain. Like, he understand himself and like his upbringing because of episode 4, but he doesn't necessarily understand others or how the world functions. Uh, so I don't think he is necessarily idiot. I just think that his intelligence is somewhere else, and he never really needed to work on, oh, let's do some maths or something like that, because he has powers, you know. And I think this is why he uses Sage.
And there's
Yeah.
also that. Sorry, I was saying
I
there's
completely
also.
agree with what Multi was saying. I think it's the other in that. I don't think it's necessarily as he's a bumbling idiot, or I think it's something else. I think it is that he hasn't had to do that. And, you know, he does kind of use his brains to figure out, okay, well, how could I do this? Oh, I know the smartest person on earth. Let me go to her. And then he recruits her and makes, you know, again, the one thing that he knows that he does well, which is threats, you know, and an intimidation. He could kill her. So, yeah, it just kind of, it makes sense to me. And then he was relying heavily on her to actually give the speech. So I could see expecting, you know, if I'm showing up to an event and I'm just supposed to be a face, but Multi's giving a speech, and then I find out that Multi gets shot in the head and I have to give the speech, I might bumble it a bit.
And he didn't know what to do. Like all of his chips were there. Like all of his eggs were in the same basket. He was like, "Yeah, she'll do it," and then no, she doesn't. But I think that moment was also to let Firecrack. No, not Firecrack. That was to let Newman like step in and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm in support. I will be there. I will be the brain." And I think that was to showcase that Newman is really on Homelander's side, like at least publicly.
I was gonna say, is she though? Like, I don't know. It makes more intrigue with Newland. Like, yeah, it's very. I'm not sure where she stands.
That's why I say publicly. Like, is she really with him, or is she afraid of him, but she doesn't really want to reveal herself? Because what can she do? Like, blow up Homelander head like that, and reveal herself as being a soup? I don't think that would be smart. And also think Newman is a smart character. And this is why she kind of showed support to Homelander, because she's like, maybe if I don't, he will delete all of us. You know, like that could be the thought process of characters in that room. They're like, if we really oppose the guy, maybe the guy will just end us. That could be another factor there. And again, I think Newman has more that brain aspect where she knows she is there to appear publicly, to be a face of something. So now she wants to be the face of Homelander just to not have him like end her right away.
She has a power of blood. She can control blood flow. She can like do that, but like, could she take out like? I mean, in reality, think of it this way: when it comes to comics, like it's been to be a dark satire. If Superman suddenly snapped, who in the Justice League could actually take him down quick?
Well, Batman has protocols on it.
Yeah.
My money would be on him, but if you're talking about physically, I don't know. Without his tools, I don't know if anyone could.
Maybe the Flash, because the Flash is very overpowered and people
Flashy.
don't realize it. Like, he's been nerfed most of the time. Like, they need to nerf him, otherwise there's like no story. But even there,
But you get the concept, right? They know that, like, if Superman truly snapped, or like there's periods, he could do some serious damage, because that's like why when you see, like, because he actually has a heart and human feelings. That's what stops him. It's only like the alternate versions of Superman where a lot of people get like Homelander from, or evil Superman types that don't have that same control. He goes, I have all this power. I could bend every world leader to my whim. Homelander in the Boys universe realizes he has this power, but he can only rule through fear. Because up until in the comics, when he snaps finally, there's little parts. But he goes, but these people like me more than they like you, Vought. Then that's when he realizes he can move his plan. Now, will the show do that? Don't know. But you got what?
They've given us hints of that for sure. Like the crowd scene where he ends up taking out one of the anti-people where you think that he would get in trouble, but everyone just cheers him on.
Like,
for that.
And the whole thing, what's the tipping point? And like, what's the tipping point for people? He's using the guy's private prisons as internment camps? What the hell? It's an interesting plot. There's a lot of like little sub conspiracy theories. They go, what do you have use for Teknite? Oh, you have a bunch of prisoners. You can store people. But it's like, yeah, Homelander really couldn't speak well. Like when Sister Sage got lobotomized by Mother's Milk. Well, actually, a bullet broke through her head.
And that was awesome. I just loved her performance. Like after Newland's speech or whatever, just the like little look that she gives her, and then it was awesome. That humor worked well for me.
Have you ever eaten and like Homelander looks goes, what's wrong with you? Have you eaten? I ate a whole bag of candy corn, shoved it in my mouth. I'm like, what is this? Like, and then Homelander doesn't ask why she's been shot in the head. Just goes on like.
Well, it's Homelander. Like he's like, oh, things happen here. But he doesn't ask questions because it was more like, oh, she's not me. She took a bullet. I guess that happened, but I think it was more in shock that is only like smart person or believed smart person wasn't able to really help anymore. I think that was more of that.
Well, you also forget though. He doesn't realize that whole little speech. He goes, "I'm the smartest woman in the world. I could have found a way to solve cancer because, like, she was talking to Newman, like, but I have all this power. Like, all these people are bad at this because you realize humans are monsters. Like, my grandmother died of leukemia. I could have found a way to fix cancer, do all of this, but I realize humans are monsters, and this is the only way women like us get ahead." Because she's like trying to form like this little party.
Yeah, it's as if she's making moves. It's kind of interesting. She's a really smart character. It is interesting introducing the world's smartest person. I don't know. I hope they pay that off well. It sounds like she might be making an alliance with Newland, and then I'm not sure if that means that she will in turn be making an alliance with the boys. But yeah, it seems kind of interesting. She made the calculations and decided, like, okay, I have to at least pretend that I'm on Homelander's side for this point. But she's still coming up with plans that'll work for him. So I don't know. I'm excited to see where it's going. Because this is a character created for the show, I believe, right? She's not from the comics. Sister Sage.
No.
I think, and I've been saying that since week 3 or 4 when she first appeared, I think she is there to destroy all of the soups, but from the inside. And yes, she does seemingly help Homelander, but I think it's only because she knows that if she doesn't really help him, she dies, and she don't really want to die, and like therefore she's like, I need to find a way to like make the Seven collapse. At least he won't have the support of other soups, because not only is bigger and tougher than me, but like he has other soups. So I think she's just playing her own game. She's there to publicly be with Homelander, but she has her own agenda. And again, you brought Human and Sister Sage teaming up. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I've been saying it for weeks now.
Because why does Newman? You remember that dialogue? actually a very intelligent dialogue. She goes, women can't really fight men. They only have backstabbing, poisoning, or sex appeal to basically control them. Like,
Yeah.
and she knows Homelander's not stupid, but he's not the brightest bulb on the tree.
Otherwise, they wouldn't need Newman and Sage.
That's like why in the comics and other times he's very slow to catch on. Like he has his sets of skills. Like she can be crafty, but she goes, Homelander is nigh indestructible, faster than us. He could take us all out. So I have to be really careful with it. Right? It's like, but it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of theories on how they're going to wrap the show up. Because like in the scene with the boys, right? Because like you get towards the end of the episode too, like when Billy, it comes out, goes, yeah. So you can, so how can you see my wife? She's been in my head. I'm in your head too. And that dialogue's like, you're going to kill all the soups. He goes like, if I make a dose powerful enough to kill Homelander, it's going to be airborne enough to kill all the soups in the world. Basically. Yeah. And then he's like, but I'm going to kill my kid. I'm going to kill all these people. Right? Yeah. It's like, and there's that moment he's thinking about it. But then the other guy's like, but I'm a part of you. You want to kill all the soups. You left me to die. And that's actually the good part I like, because they play it like it's a total mind game. You don't, there's only little hints that you see he's talking to walls. Like, oh.
Yeah, they leave it completely open. In no scene that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in, is there anybody else other than just the two of them? It's only those two. And they kept doing that with Hugh and his mom, too. Yeah, his dad was there, but he was, unconscious. So I kind of thought they were going that same route. And I was totally wrong on Huey's mom, but man, I called that Jeffrey Dean Morgan thing. But I thought the payoff was awesome, where all of a sudden he just starts yelling at the wife and, in, I guess, Butcher's head. But man, that payoff, really done well.
I agree. Like, I knew, like, the wife was a figment of Butcher mind. And I also felt like Negan, I will call him Negan because I don't know the name of the character. But yeah, I felt like Negan was like Butcher from the past. I always had that feeling, but I didn't see that twist coming. I was like, oh, that's actually one of his persona. I was surprised. I knew that was the point of the character, but I didn't see that turn coming. I just didn't see it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The idea of the boys in the comics, right? They are entirely a wet works team funded by the CIA to keep suits in check.
Yeah.
That's their job. Billy just has a grudge because Homelander, I say in quotes, raped his wife and killed her.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I hate all soups. I hate Homelander. Soups are evil people.
Yeah.
That's his whole origin in the comics. That's how he operates.
Yeah. I mean, Huey's whole origin is, his girlfriend got taken out right in front of him by a soup. So
his girlfriend got creamed into a wall.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that is enough that it could inspire you to be on a crusade against the soups. I don't know. I like it a lot. I think they've gotten so much more political this season, and I guess that's what I'm seeing as like the main criticism is like it's way too political. I don't know how it wouldn't. Like everything for the last 3 seasons has like built up to this Newland election, and now they're having it. Like finally, like we're going to get to it. It feels like this is an inherently political show, no matter what. So I don't know what people were expecting.
Oh, you forget the part in this show when he's trying to recruit the other people before Newman's speech. She gives a speech of corporations are big and bad.
Yeah, there's no democracy.
Yeah, and then
really
did you also catch the 25th Amendment? Invoke the 25th Amendment part in the episode.
Yeah, and the vote's going to be ratified by January 6th. Yeah, there's a bunch of things that are kind of on this. They're using a bunch of Marjorie Taylor Greene's like slogans and stuff. There's a lot of politics that they're throwing into this.
She's not really, by the way, can I say this, get this out of the way? Firecracker really isn't meant to be her. She's an over-the-top form of conservative, but they haven't really brought in the whole Christian superhero team. Like, they might.
And I don't know if they're gonna touch it, but
they won't do that. They may not do that because there's the weird part. See, the Boys comic where the show can expand is it used a fixed number of characters and events, and then they said, "Oh, there's this Teen Titans team. There's these other people." But they're not, it's hard to work them into the main story because we're trying to tell them we only have 7-8 volumes to tell a story. Now, the problem is you don't want to get, the Boys has to land. You're either going to change it or not have Homelander go insane. So I guess when Homelander goes insane, the only person who's going to be able to put him in check is going to be Billy the Butcher. That's it. You're going to have to evolve Billy the Butcher.
You got a time frame on that because you only got 6 months on Billy's books or whatever. So I don't know. He's got to go insane soon.
Well, I mean, if you try to force, because without a black noir plot, you don't really have someone in the world that can stand up to him. What was more interesting about the original Black Noir was he was the one who perpetrated the idea that Homelander was the serial rapist and other things.
We might not have a clone, but we do have his son. I don't know.
But it's going to be interesting to see what they do, and I could stand watching it. But as I told Multi before, it's a little bit of a Siberian film.
Yeah.
Just a little.
So I got a few things to say. We covered a lot of grounds there. Homelander, I see him as some kind of caricature of the right wing in the USA, and that's hilarious. I just adore that aspect. The other thing is, it was well shown how.
It's crazy because, like, in the comics, it's a little bit more of kind of the Bush Cheney type deal. It isn't specifically kind of Trump, but man, like, this is kind of the perfect time to put that show out when this is going on in these politics. For sure, they're definitely putting him into that character. But yeah, I'd fully agree with that.
Yeah, and the next up would be, it was well shown how Firecracker was used to attract her fans, but she's not really considered to be the equal of the others of the party. It's just like, oh, she is going at that very important party for social media and such, but like, she kind of get pushed aside by everyone, and that leads to a very great moment that actually made me care about her for the first time since she appeared. Her moment of weakness, where she broke apart in the bathroom just before meeting Starlight. That was amazing. And that is a great parallel with what's going on with Huey. And I think this is also why we got so much of that torture corn something. It's to really push Huey way too far and to break him apart. So we both have like a good guy and a bad guy, even if they're not really necessarily good and bad, because they're really great. They do good and bad at the same time, and they are nuanced. But like the good guy, and the bad guy are both like running great parallels where they both kind of break apart this week. I really enjoyed that thing. And the other thing I really enjoyed was Firecracker unwavering loyalty for Homelander, and that was just wow. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree.
here's the thing. A lot of people said she was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Not really. Since they are deviating, she's kind of supposed to be the member of like that young Christian team. They're like minor superheroes. They have like fly abilities, but it's like her
Definitely
fulfilling.
brought some MTG lines in there, and then the showrunner did say something about like they did want to bring this kind of evil character from the right, a Marjorie Taylor Greene type. So there's tropes of it, but you're right, like it's not a one for one.
No, but I say like but she knows, like it's like the dialogue her and Starlight have. Well, you did this, and then you were forced to, like, so when she joins the Seven, she's forced to do the Bill Clinton thing to Homelander, which is against her principles. But she's like, but you would sell out. Like, this is a woman that wasn't drinking at the party, but she would expose her own, basically, breast and use her sex appeal to, like, because Homelander's like, well, how do I know you're not a spy? No, because I'm loyal and I do this for you. Like, Christian hypocrite a little route, but like, okay, you're loyal. You prove it, and I'm like, okay, way to prove you're loyal. I like how because there's a lot of stuff in this episode. It earns the mature rating. Really.
Yeah.
It's
I gotta say, this week for me was one of the best episodes the show ever had. I had no issue whatsoever. I just had a blast, and I took so many notes. And that's funny because I won't go over every single thing because there's a lot to say, and I think we talked a lot, and we had really good things to add to the discussion. So, Gray, do you want to add something? I guess not. Dlord, do you want to add something?
no, I think it was a good episode. I'm just gonna be curious how they're going to wrap up. They gotta get to the point Homelander snaps and then he gets killed. How they're gonna do it? No idea.
No idea. Are you back with us, Gray? I think he muted himself or something like that. Or he is really away. So I guess since I don't have a lot more to say, I will give this episode a solid 10 out of 10. What about you, D-Lord?
I pretty much the same. I like the setting. I like the other stuff. There isn't a lot of bad. Say it's like
so you're giving it a 10 out of 10 as well?
Yes.
Wow. I'm going 8 out of 10. Too much spider hole. But no, it was a decent episode. I really like the direction that it's going. This season really seems to be firing on a bunch of on all cylinders for me. I don't want to give it a 10 because I think it can get better. So I go like 9.5. It's a pretty damn good episode. A lot of spider hole though.
That was peak. The last time I was that hooked and I enjoyed that much an episode of The Boys was probably season 1. And season 2 and 3, as much as I didn't like these 2 seasons, they were standout episodes I really enjoyed that were slightly better than season 1, but because it was surrounded of weaker episodes, it never felt that way. But this episode, I felt like I was back in season 1. Um, I I really like that thing, and I'm so excited about next week. And it's crazy how the hour went by like that, and right after it, I was like, I want more. I need more. Only binge watch. I think this season may be probably one of the most fun one, like probably on par with one. But yeah, I don't have a lot more to say. Any thoughts to add, Dre or Dlord?
No, just I think they finally figured out the formula on this, and I'm looking forward to how this election is going to turn out in this deeply political season of a deeply political series. So, yeah, I hope they keep it up.
No, my thing to it does take. Sorry, allergic allergies. No, it takes something really interesting for me to be glued and for me not to question a lot. It's like when I was watching Acolyte. I'm not invested in it. I'm just like, my eyes are rolling in back of my head. Like a good television show, as Greg can say when we covered X-Men 97, if it keeps my attention, even with corny jokes that are in there, like, there's a couple of weird things that I know it's the writers. It's like, my mother was a Black Panther person, so they didn't choose to save her. I'm like, okay. But I like how the setting, how the episode evolves. And I'm like, okay. So how does get out of this? It's like, in the whole embarrassing moment, it's like Sister Sage is off with half her head blown out. Like, healing, and I'm just like, it's a good episode. I'm just like, it is a really good show, but it takes that. It's a very rare show to prove it's a good show, to keep my attention like others. So.
I feel you. Anyway, I thank you guys. I'm surprised we were 3. That's amazing and wonderful. I like that tonight's show. That was amazing. What do you have going on your end of the internet, Dlord?
Well, I have been streaming Zenless Zone Zero. I'll probably stream either Division or Diablo this weekend. Apparently, ZZZ is developing some tech issues, but I'll find out. That's what I've been doing. That's my series for a little while.
Perfect. And what about you, Gray?
Yeah. So, currently, I've been asked a few different times to explain why I like the show Velma. So, currently working on a video to kind of explain that. That being said, the flagship show of my channel should be back sometime in the near future. So, yeah, ring the bell, and you'll be notified as soon as I have content available. But if you can't get enough of that, every Thursday on That Darn Kidda's channel, there's The Thinkers. It's a bunch of people from at least 3 different continents getting together, disagreeing, and still being okay with it. So, yeah, come have a think with us every Thursday on That Darn Kidda's channel. What do you have going on your side of the internet, Multi?
A lot. So tomorrow I finished that power scaling tier list for Naruto. I also have a stream tomorrow. I was supposed to do that stream next week, but things swapped in real life. So what I was supposed to do next week, I do it tomorrow, which is an Advance Wars replay commentary, because it's been a long time I didn't stream Advance Wars. Outside of that, I've seen Inside Out 2 today, and I've seen 1 last week. So I will be doing like a video covering both in 1, and this will be uploaded at some point next week. Outside of that, it's rare I do that, but I started a script about the TV shows I've seen in 2024. And there's a bit of a cheat code because it's not all 2024 stuff, but like there's at least like 5 to 10 2024 TV shows out there. And usually I don't script stuff, but here I thought I could make a segment more scripted and a bit different. So it will be a ranking of all of the 55, no, 56, sorry about that. 56 seasons of TV shows I've covered this year. So that's like uh, The Boys, all 4 seasons. Even if I covered it last year, I cheat. I just slide it in because we got The Boys season 4 this year. What else? Well, there's a lot. The Walking Dead just alone takes 12. That's a lot. Um, so yeah, I will be doing that. I will probably upload that very long 3-parter video at some point in November or December, but I will start working on it right now. Um, so yeah, uh, that's what's going on. A lot of streams are planned. Um, right now, the Red Blue podcast is on break. There's a bonus episode 2 weeks from now with Bike Rider. I believe Long Leg or Fly Me to the Moon, one of these two, is on that week. And The Watchers as well. These are the three. Outside of that, what else? 2 weeks from now, I start a new podcast to kind of replace Red Blue. It will be mainstream movie reviews where I cover new release alongside with like other movies from that IP or discussion about the IP itself. So yeah, that's what's going on. A lot of things. I like to be occupied and do stuff. YouTube is just very fun. Um, outside of that, I did release a video like Thursday. Now it's 2 days ago. We are already Saturday here in Canada, but Thursday I did release 9 movies I recommend watching in 2024. It's not really a ranking. It's more like I think these movies are good. Go watch them. 2024 movies are great. Most of them I've seen at least. Anyway, that's it for now. And we are done. Thank you for being there, guys, and the viewers. That was amazing.